This is the October 6th meeting of the Revere City Council. Please rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Rigo?
Here.
Here. Councilor Gino?
Here.
Here. Councilor Guanasso?
Here.
Here. Councilor Haas? Here. Councilor Morabito?
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky?
Here.
Here. Councilor Patch?
Here.
Here. Councilor Penta?
Here.
Here. Councilor Powers?
Here.
Here. Councilor Reardon?
Here.
Here. And Council President Zambuto?
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. Approval of the journal of the meeting held on September 22nd, 2014.
All in favor, all opposed? Can I have a suspension of rules? All in favor, all opposed? Thank you. Rules are suspended. Madam Clerk.
And take up calendar item number 2 first. Jeremy Neary Orn will be presented with a certificate of commendation for attaining the rank of Eagle Scout.
Tonight is one of the occasions that I love, when we get to recognize somebody outstanding. Now, I do a lot with children. I'm on a lot of boards, and one of the things that I regret as a kid, I was not a scout. Since then, I've learned so much about scouts, but this is so much more than that, an Eagle Scout. I mean, scouts are about God and country and doing the right thing, high moral fiber. It's an honor to honor this gentleman here tonight for achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. He didn't just achieve the rank of Eagle Scout. There's so many requirements to become an Eagle Scout. Not many people make it because there's so much to do, but he did much more than was required. Perhaps my colleague, Ira Novoselsky, who's going to read the certificate, because Ira and I have been to several of these wonderful ceremonies when someone is awarded this high rank of Eagle Scout. And so, again, I'm honored to recognize Jeremy here tonight, and my colleague will come up and read the certificate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The certificate of commendation, in acknowledgement of receiving this designation of Eagle Scout, the highest rank attainable in the Boy Scouts of America program, which requires extraordinary dedication, outstanding leadership, and community service. Special recognition is hereby accorded to Jeremy Neary Orn, Eagle Scout. This certificate of commendation is presented by the City Council at the City of Revere on behalf of its citizens this 6th day of October in the year of our Lord 2014 and of the independence of the United States of America, the 237th, and signed by Ashley Melnick, our City Clerk, and City Councilor and President Anthony Zambuto. Here are you. Here you go, Jeremy, and unfortunately I didn't attend that particular day. It was a bad day for us. I know the council president was there. Yeah, and You all set? Good. So with that, at least we got to give you this tonight in public and amongst your friends and all city councilors and the people in the city of Revere. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Can I say a few words? You don't have to. No, thank you. Okay.
He's all set. You guys all set with photographs?
Thank you was sufficient.
Okay, cool.
Congratulations.
Head out that way so you can
We're
see
proud
the
of you.
council.
The proud parents.
Oh, gentleman right there just became eagle. No, another Revere boy. Mr. Benetti, this young man's son.
What's his name?
Paul Benetti.
Paul Benetti. I just want to mention, I didn't know this, but Paul Benetti just became an Eagle Scout, one of Jeremy's colleagues. Congratulations. Take a brief recess here. Okay. Madam Clerk, back in session.
Calendar item number 1, Senator Petroselli and Representative Vincent will address the council to provide a legislative update.
Senator, Madam Representative.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk and Mr. President and the members of the council. I'm joined here by Representative Vincent for her first appearance before the council. It's great to be back here for my annual appearance to provide an update to the members of the council, the mayor, and through your cable access television to the citizens of Revere. I usually come in the spring, but we had some scheduling conflicts this past spring, and so we're able to reschedule and be here today. So thank you for allowing us to be able to be here today.
Well, I want to welcome you, but before I do, I got to give you, we are fortunate to have the state delegation that we have. We obviously have the Speaker of the House, and we have on the Senate side one of the most powerful senators who chairs one of the most powerful committees up there, Joint Financial Services Committee. Yeah, they got pretty good memory, huh? And of course Rosalie, who just took over Ms. Reinstein's seat, and so we couldn't be in better position with our state delegation. We're very pleased. up here, and we are grateful that you're going to come and give us some hopefully decent news about where the state is. But I can tell you that I know the state's going to be better after November.
I'll reserve my
Okay.
comments on that.
Mr. Senator.
But yes, first of all, again, in introductions, I was with Speaker DeLeo this morning at a funeral in the town of Winthrop, and he expresses his regards, but he's not able to be here today. And
One more interruption, and I apologize for this. And before we have the senator speak, I would like to ask for a moment of silence for one of my dear friends, but a dear friend of a lot of people, not just in East Boston, but in Revere, our good friend Anthony Albano.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you very much for that. I know you were at Albano's funeral this morning. He was a dear friend of mine. I grew up a block away from him, and he was a political supporter of mine for a long time. And last night at his wake at East Boston High School, I can't tell you how many people were there, thousands of people. People waited in line for 3 hours, and that is a real measurement of his legacy and how many people he touched as an employee of East Boston High School as their Dean of Discipline for 40 years. Is an active member in East Boston and in the region. He played softball in the men's leagues here. Back in the day at Hill Park in the 70s, he was an incredible sandlot athlete and high school athlete. Everyone remembers the great Albano. And so thank you.
And I don't think I've ever seen a bigger funeral mass than we had at St. Anthony's today. Thousands of people. It was just unbelievable, standing room only.
It was. Well,
Okay.
Well earned. That's great to see Councilor Penta. Welcome back. You look wonderful, so it's wonderful to see you. First, let me say, before I get in, I'll briefly talk a little bit about some state finance issues. I came again with some charts and bar graphs that I'd like to share with you. Pictures speak 1,000 words sometimes, and I think there's a couple that I'll share with you that are encouraging, at least for the past couple of fiscal years have been. But first, I want to say, July 28th, when the tornado hit, just a unthinkable event here in this part of the state. And I can't say enough about, as I came over with my colleagues that morning, how incredible of a response to see firsthand the action being taken by the people of the city of Revere and trusted by the people of the city of Revere. Mayor Rizzo, the response, Mayor, I can't say enough how proud I was, and I know all of us were, of your response in a time when there's no training. There's no training for how you respond to something like that. And it was truly remarkable. Chief Doherty in the room there, trying to figure out what people needed and how devastating it actually was for people. And your response as a city to get together, to form a committee to help those in need financially, is really, truly a shining moment for the city, for all of you as councilors, through the mayor. A job well done, remarkable. The state budget, I will first hold up a couple of these charts because it's been a good couple of years from a fiscal standpoint, if I may. And what I'd like to do first is talk a little bit about where we have been from a budget gap standpoint. I'll flash it here and then there, if that's okay. And if you can see back in fiscal 10, our budget gap of $5 billion, okay? So that is on the heels of our financial crisis that was hitting our communities. I can't, there I am on TV. Our communities in the financial sector, you could see how devastating it was. And then it declining to a point where it was a much more manageable past couple of fiscal years with budget gaps of less than $1 billion. Again, the cost of providing services from the previous fiscal year to the next, right? And so that is the situation that we found ourselves in 15, where our budget gap was less than $1 billion. Still no chump change, but $5 billion was incredibly difficult. And in those years, how were we able to manage our way through it, where we were relying on almost $2 billion in one-time infusions of cash, of one-time revenues in those very difficult years. The point that I'd like to show on this, 2 points. Again, those were years where we were relying on federal stabilization funds, where they had acted in Congress with the president to provide not only monies for capital projects, which we saw in Revere, some of that money for roads and bridges and the garage and the like, but money for stabilization for states and for cities and towns. And that's how we got through those years with the aid of money from the federal government. And here we are in fiscal 15. It's the smallest amount of one-time revenues that we have relied on to balance our budget in a very long time. It's a great thing for our finance. It's a great thing. A couple of years ago, our bond rating was increased here in Massachusetts to the highest rating in the history of the Commonwealth. And what I would love to point out, Mr. President, was even back in fiscal 2006, when former Governor Mitt Romney was our governor, we relied on almost $700 million in one-time revenues. And we're now down to $250 million. I thought that's a big accomplishment that we're moving towards, to be more sound fiscally. Well, I mean, I don't know. If you would like to go in that direction, I can tell you who was Administration and Finance Secretary was in the previous administration.
Continue, Senator.
Because it was a mess that he inherited, let me tell you. Transportation finance as well, something that has been a growing problem and need here in Massachusetts and across the country, quite frankly, when roads and bridges that were constructed in the 40s and the 1950s are falling into just structural disrepair, outliving their engineering lifespan, and there's a need for revenue. So we did a transportation finance bill, a 3-cent increase in the gas tax 2 years ago, and this chart would show you that based on this, we have increased our revenue available for transportation funding here in the Commonwealth by almost $300 million in fiscal 14, and in this fiscal year of 15 that we're heading into, over $300 million of much-needed new revenue for transportation. A couple of brief notes, if I may, on the budget, some of the highlights. This current fiscal year budget, $36.5 billion for fiscal 15, making all-time high investments in local aid, education, human services, including substance abuse treatment and prevention, which I will get to in a moment because we also did some companion legislation for substance abuse treatment. As I know, this is something that's gripped our Commonwealth really more so in this year than it has ever before. We've seen it firsthand in all of our communities. So I want to talk a little bit about that in further detail in a moment. The budget allocates $945 million in unrestricted government aid, local aid, as you fellows know, and ladies know. $4.4 billion in Chapter 70 money for the Commonwealth. Budget allocates $15 million to expand access to early education. The spending plan makes the lowest draw from the stabilization fund in 4 years. Again, getting back to those charts of one-time revenues, we have, I believe, the 5th highest rainy day fund in the country right now at around $2 billion. It's positioned us very well for the future if it starts raining again. And on that note, I might express a word of caution. As I was talking to the speaker this morning, telling him I was coming to do the annual presentation, talk a little bit about the budget and revenues, he said, well, make sure you mention revenues haven't been great. And so we're seeing that we budgeted, we believe, at a conservative benchmark, but revenues are probably $100 million below benchmark for the beginning of this fiscal 15. And so we're watching very carefully those economic indicators where some of our receipts have been smaller than expected. And that's concerning, very much so. On substance abuse, we're spending almost $18 million in new money. That's new spending for substance abuse services, $5 million of which is for a new program that 3 budgets ago I asked the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Department of Public Health, to look at the concept of adding substance abuse education to a part of our curriculum in our middle schools or in our high schools. They came back with a very thorough paper on it. And so in this budget, we created a new program to and put $5 million of money in it for all cities and towns in the Commonwealth to apply for grants to hire substance abuse counselors or to come up with a creative program of addiction education and substance abuse awareness education in our schools grades 5 through 12. The program will be created by March of the next year for school districts all across the Commonwealth to apply for. And as we have looked at this issue of addiction in our Commonwealth and in all of our communities, I have heard from mostly people that are in recovery that, you know what, we better get our kids exposed to the dangers more aggressively and at younger ages. And that is what caught our attention to put that in this year's budget and the policy program to go along with it as well. We had substance abuse legislation that my colleagues and I put into law that, among other things, some of the highlights of that would strengthen the current prescription monitoring program that we created a few years ago by requiring the chief medical examiner to file reports with the FDA's MedWatch program in the Department of Public Health if a death is caused by a controlled substance. The drug formulary, we've made some changes to that to curb the public health risks of Schedule 2 and 3 drugs. The bill requires the Drug Formulary Commission to prepare a drug formulary of chemically equivalent substitutions, which must include abuse deterrent properties in consideration of cost and accessibility for consumers. In addition to this, the bill removed the prior authorization. You've probably heard about this. People that are looking to get access to a recovery program, to a bed, but their insurance company required a prior authorization. Now, prior authorization of services, to be fair, is a cost containment mechanism that is necessary oftentimes to prevent abuse of services. However, we heard from people enough to realize that there was a breakdown in the communication with the insurance carriers here in Massachusetts and with people in need that are seeking help, that are addicted, that want to get help. So elimination of that prior authorization of services was something that was real important that we put into this law as well. If I may, just a couple of other issues. Economic independence reform, also known as welfare reform. This is something that when I appeared before the council, I believe 2 years ago, we talked a little bit about this. The issue of EBT cards was front and center, the abuse of it in our media, in particularly the Boston Herald. But this is an issue that Bob DeLeo, our Speaker of the House, represents the city of Revere, has really taken a lead on the past couple of years here in the Commonwealth. You should know, you probably already do, that EBT cards and the requirement for photo identification on those EBT cards has been in place for a year now. The update that I got this past spring from the Commissioner of the Department of Transitional Assistance was very favorable, was that it has actually worked better than people expected it might. There were some fears that people that needed access to the services provided, to the financial assistance provided, would be unfairly stigmatized, and this could create a problem. It has not. It has been actually working tremendously well. To the contrary, I believe that as of this past spring, over 90% of eligible participants that were required to have their ID on the EBT card had, in fact, had it done. And so it's been working. A couple of other issues, if I may, on this very important issue, is the creation of a job diversion program through the Department of Transitional Assistance and the Commonwealth Corporation to connect able-bodied individuals with full-time jobs before they start receiving benefits. It also revives the full employment program that was originally established in 1995, and employers who hire from this program are eligible for a health care subsidy under the Insurance Partnership Program and a subsequent tax credit after receiving the health care subsidy for 1 year. The bill requires specialists who are assigned to help high-risk recipients have a maximum caseload of 60. It's one of the things we heard as a member of the Committee on Ways and Means. In the past fiscal year's budget hearings, we heard from the Commissioner of Department of Transitional Assistance and how overburdened the caseload was for people, and were not able to flag people who were exposing the system and taking advantage of it. Also, this legislation will help recipients overcome the so-called cliff effect. The bill develops an asset development program through the Department of Transitional Assistance to allow them to save money for first, last, and security rent payments and for education. And for store owners, as we've seen, again, in various media exposés, for store owners who knowingly allow the purchase of prohibited products or services with an EBT card, who also possess a license to sell alcoholic beverages or lottery tickets, their licenses will be suspended for not less than 30 days upon a second or subsequent violation. This is Chapter 158 of the Acts of 2014. Again, new legislation. We called it economic independence reform. It could also be phrased welfare reform. We wanted to try to make it a positive piece of legislation, and we believe that that will make a difference for people who need services, but will also protect the interest of the taxpayer, as it so rightly should. With that, I will pause, if I may, and invite Representative Vincent, who's waiting patiently. I wanted to stop myself there. I had a couple of other issues, but I'm sure there might be some questions, and I might leave some of those issues for that. Representative Vincent.
Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. This is exciting. My very first time in front of the Honorable Revere City Council. It's good to be here in front of my friends and our wonderful mayor. And I'd like to just quickly echo Senator Petroselli's thanks of the mayor. In July, when we had that devastating tornado, I was so sad and so proud all at the same time. I sat in the mayor's office with great pride and watched how he orchestrated the most incredible recovery of this city in such a short time. I don't think I was ever more impressed with our Fire Chief, Gene Doherty, our DPW, and our entire city council. I was proud to be from Revere. I was sad at the moment to be from Revere, but within days, Mr. Mayor, you did an amazing job. Thank you. But that's not why we're here. I've only been in office for a few months, so I can't claim great things for everything that's been done. But I'd like to just give you a couple of highlights what Revere received during our budget debates. So in my first week, in my first weeks in office, we adopted a very responsible budget. And for the city of Revere, we received almost $51 million in Chapter 90 monies, which is nearly $3 million from last year's budget. We also received $9 million in Chapter 90's money, which is local aid, which is up almost $250,000 from last year. For CAPIC, who does great things for our city, they received $175,000 and $9 million for Head Start. We were fortunate enough to get, again, the dedicated state police patrols on Revere Beach, which is over $1 million, and I'm really proud of that. $8 million for the Shannon grants to curb gang violence is really important for our community. So I'm very proud that both the House and Senate budget contain both of those, all of these actually. $500,000 for the operation of the Metropolitan Beaches, and $200,000 for the Metropolitan Beaches staffing. We got $190,000 for matching grants with Metropolitan Beaches, and we already have utilized some of them with the Revere Beach Partnership and the Revere Beautification Committee, which do great things for our cities. So they were already the recipient of some of those matching grants. And I'm proud to say that the Senate and the House, we were able to improve the safety of ethanol transportation through our communities by including language that has a 2-year moratorium on the expansion of ethanol facilities. So I'm happy about that. Now, the environmental bond bill, which is something that I actually made my maiden speech on, and the particular item that I did was for a $20 million design and construction of capital projects on the Metropolitan Beaches. And I'm proud to say that it actually passed, and it is part of the environmental bond bill. There's quite a bit in the environmental bond bill for the city of Revere, and obviously because it's the environmental bond bill, it's mainly for water quality, beaches, and such. Now we just have to wait for whoever is governor to appropriate this money. So it looks like we have help on both campaigns, so we're going to be holding whoever is working for the winner to please help us and get these items in the environmental bond bill. So other than that, I just wanted to say that it's been an honor and a pleasure in my few months as a state legislator. Thanks to the leadership of Speaker DeLeo, I've been truly blessed, and with the great work of Senator Anthony Petrocelli, I feel very honored and privileged to work with two great people, and I look forward to working with all of you to make our city the best it possibly can be. So thank you very much.
I want to thank you, Representative, for keeping the representative's seat in Revere here. And we're very proud of you, and you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator.
Mr. President. Wonderful job, Rosalie, and your first at bat. You hit it right out of the park. And I guess I'll, if there are questions, open it up, if that's okay.
Councilors, start with Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, I just have one question. As you well know, Route 1A that runs from the North Shore to the airport is probably one of the most heavily traveled roads in the state, particularly during the mornings and the evenings. That road, because of its narrowness, affects Revere Beach Boulevard. You can go down Revere Beach Boulevard in the evening at 5:30, and it's packed with traffic going to the North Shore, and the same thing in the morning, traffic coming from the North Shore. Now, one of the things that I've always spoken about is a commuter station at the rear of Wonderland with a covered walkover to the Blue Line that would accommodate people coming from the Rockport, Gloucester area and other North Shore cities and towns. And my understanding is that there was a $25 million put into the transportation bond bill for specifically that project. Now, can you tell me with any degree of certainty where that is, what might happen, or?
So it, I believe, made it into the final version of the transportation bond bill as an earmark, but as Representative Vincent just very eloquently described that process, the power of the executive, i.e. the governor, is who determines where our capital spending is allocated to.
Yep.
And so those are projects that we will have to, again, as a group, advocate to the governor for spending. You know, if there are projects that are not included in a transportation bond bill or an environmental bond bill, that is not necessarily a necessary step to have a project built. The power of the executive sets forward their capital spending plan however they see fit. And so it is important to bear that in mind. And it is not an appropriation. Years ago, when times were really good economically, when I first got elected to the House of Representatives in 1999, in fiscal years 2000, 2001, there were sometimes what we call cap sups. Capital supplemental budgets. I see Councilor Arrigo nodding his head as a former Ways and Means staffer. He gets that, where we had surplus revenues where we could spend cash on projects and have more direction as legislators to identify where that spending goes with an earmark. Very different. An earmark in a bond authorization does not carry nearly as much weight.
I understand that, but as you well know, there's been talk for decades now about extending the Blue Line from Lynn up to the connecting up with the current Blue Line at Wonderland. And also I believe that Senator McGee has been a strong proponent of that, and I'm sure other legislators on the North Shore are also. So I guess what I would ask of our delegation is to put as much pressure on the administration to get something like that started, because we all know that it would probably cost over $1 billion to extend the Blue Line with the takings, etc. This is probably the most effective and least costly way of doing it, to put a commuter station at the rear of Wonderland, which is a piece of property that we're all looking to develop also, where they walk over to the Blue Line that would take an awful lot of traffic, airport traffic, and traffic going to Boston daily off of that 1A corridor, which is so heavily impacted, and would give the people in the Point of Pines, Oak Island, Lower Revere Street, and the North Shore a break of sorts. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Well
Mr.
said.
President.
Point is very well made and
Thank you.
well taken.
Thank you, Council Powers. Council Penta.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have any questions. Just basically, I'd like to thank both of you. We're a very lucky city. I actually have, Senator, you represent my whole area, you represent the whole city. Mr. Vincent, you represent part of my ward, and I have the speaker represent the other part, which is at the best of both worlds. So I call both of you and talk to both of you. And whenever I pick the phone up, you've always been there. And Senator, I've probably been Joey more than anybody. We talk on quite frequently. But I think we're just a very lucky city. Couldn't have a better mayor, especially in the times that, you know, the things that you brought up, and just as a business thing, and the city council as a whole, you know, working hard for the people. So I think the citizens are well protected politically, and whoever wins for governor, I'm sure that you people keep the governor line for our city. So with that, I just want to thank you.
Thank you very much, Council.
Thank you, Council Penta. Council Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for coming, Anthony Rosalie. Thank you very much for coming to see us tonight. Similar in a similar vein to Councilor Powers, I have a transportation issue, and I'm wondering what you hear about the expansion of Route 1 going well, in both directions. I have to tell you, from the perspective of the residents of Ward 4, while they are wise enough not to get on that highway after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, by and large, while the residents of Linfield and Georgetown and Peabody and Points North have to suffer with the added congestion, the people in Ward 4 and Ward 6, Council Patch's ward, have to suffer with consuming the exhaust created by, believe me when I tell you, 2 and 3 hour traffic jams on northbound on Route 1. It's gotten to the point where even if it is fixed, it's going to probably be obsolete by the time it is, but if it isn't fixed, it's going to be an incredible nightmare, and we're going to see people on our side streets trying to avoid it. And anybody who knows what they're doing knows how to avoid Route 1 by going through Chelsea and portions of Revere to avoid that. And it's only going to make our congestion. Do you hear anything about any advancement in that direction? Because that's been on the books for 20 years now.
Thank you. I have not heard any update on that. I know it's a project that Mass Department of Transportation has on their list and would love to move forward on. But I do not believe there are plans in the immediate future. However, we will provide you with an updated response as soon as we can.
I hope I'm still alive. Thanks.
Any other?
The project's alive, yeah, but it's not imminent. Yeah, in his lifetime.
Any other councilors? I see none. So, Mr. Senator, I want to thank you for your time and for your always informative presentation. And Ms. Vincent, thank you so much for your presentation. And
if I may, just
go right ahead. Closing comments.
In closing, yes. In closing, again, it's always a great opportunity for my colleague and I to be able to come here before you. And let me just express a debt of gratitude to the work that you all do as members of the City Council. Public service is a more thankless job than I think sometimes people realize. And the men and women here of the City of Revere and public service, led by our great Mayor Dan Rizzo, you all put yourselves out there all the time. And you're wonderful to work with. You always communicate with our offices whenever necessary, and you're always out there at community events. And so I just wanted to say how grateful I am to have such wonderful colleagues here in the City of Revere. So to echo your earlier sentiments in reverse order, it's much appreciated, and it's a pleasure to work with you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brief recess. Back to the regular order of business.
Calendar item number 3, report of the zoning subcommittee.
Chairman Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. President. This afternoon, the zoning subcommittee met to consider 3 separate items that were on the agenda, the first of which was C14-08, which is a petition by Robert Corcoran, Barber & LLC of 9 Whitney Road in Boxford to request to construct 6 townhouses within the RB district at 75 Lamson Street, Revere, Massachusetts. Mr. President, I've been made aware of a late communication from Attorney Cipolleta's office regarding this, and I'd ask for suspension of the rules to take that up.
Suspension of the rules. All in favor, all opposed? Rules are suspended.
The late communication reads as follows. On behalf of Bob Corcoran and Barber & LLC, it is respectfully requested that the application for special permit for 6 townhouses units now pending before the Revere City Council be withdrawn without prejudice and without further action by the council. My client and I wish to thank the council for its input and consideration during the process. Respectfully, James Cipolleta. He is of course, the representative of the applicant. So at this point, I would ask the council to take a vote on the request for withdrawal.
Roll call.
Shall the City Council allow the petitioner to withdraw his special permit application of 75 Lansing Street without prejudice? Councilor Rigo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morbido.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Penta.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Reardon.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. The request to withdraw without prejudice has been granted.
Mr. President, next on the agenda this evening was C-14-11. It's a petition by New Singular Wireless, PCS LLC, by AT&T Mobility Corporation, requesting a special permit from the Revere City Council to modify an existing telecommunication facility by replacing 6 existing 9 antennas and adding 3 for a total of 12. This matter was kept in the subcommittee pending a review of the site by the building inspector, as well as an opinion from, I believe, Council Penta asked for an opinion from the city solicitor regarding some other issues. Council Penta, I'm sorry if I'm misrepresenting, and I defer to you on that.
I appreciate that. One was if approved, if the money could be used to enhance it and beautify the outside of the building, fix it up, where right now it looks like the building's actually should be condemned.
Thank you, Council Penta. So we're going to hold that pending those 2 reviews.
Thank you.
The last item on the agenda was C-14-13. This is a petition for North Shore Road Trust, 755 to 777 North Shore Road, Revere, seeking permission for the Revere City Council to construct a shelter 39 by 30 feet for the purpose of storing a helicopter associated with the heliport at 777 North Shore Road in Revere. This matter came before us accompanied by a communication from Site Plan Review with 4 proposed conditions. I'll start with the last, which is the shelter is to be fenced on all sides and shall be screened in accordance with plans approved by the Site Plan Review Committee. The third recommendation was that the shelter be no closer than 100 feet to any property line or any other structure. The second condition was that the shelter is to be used only for the storage of a helicopter. The first condition became a bone of contention somewhat before the subcommittee, but I think we kind of resolved it. That condition originally read, no combustible or hazardous materials to be stored in the shelter. As anyone who was at the meeting is aware, the question was whether or not the combustibles and other hazardous materials that are within the framework of the helicopter should be included in this. So at the request of Councilor Novoselsky for a modification and with the permission and the indulgence of the rest of the council, I did draft an addition to that, which would come after the period of the last of that sentence, which says, with the exception of those fluids and other substances stored within the said helicopter and within its engine and/or other mechanical parts and/or onboard storage holding tanks and are necessary for its immediate propulsion. So I think that's probably going to make it just so we don't have any problems with that. And I would ask that the City Council take a vote on this matter with that other additional condition to the site plan review, as well as the other 3 site plan review recommendations. Thank you.
On the special permit with the amended version of the site plan review as illustrated by Councilor Reardon.
Shall the City Council grant the relief requested subject to the special permit, the SPR findings and conditions as amended by Councilor Reardon on the special permit application for 755 to 777 North Shore Road? Councilor Rigo.
No.
No. Councilor Janino.
No.
No. Councilor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Hass.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky. Yes. Councilor Patch.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Penta.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers.
No.
No. Councilor Reardon.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes, the special permit has been granted.
Do I hear suspension of the rules? Does not prevail.
Calendar
Back to the regular order of business.
Calendar item number 4, communication from site plan review relative to findings and conditions for 755 to 777 North Shore Road special permit application.
That'll become part of C1413, yeah.
Calendar item number 5, communication from site plan review relative to findings and conditions for 134 Railroad Street special permit application.
Placed on file.
Calendar item number 6, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of E.B. Rotundi and Sons, Inc., 21 Madison Street, Stoneham, Mass. as a licensed drain layer.
Appointments.
Calendar item number 7, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Pride Landscaping Corp., 143 Bow Street, Everett, Mass. as a licensed drain layer.
Appointments.
Calendar item number 8, communication from the election commissioner calling for approval of the state election warrant for Tuesday, November 4th, 2014.
Placed on file.
Calendar item number 9, motion presented by Councilor Novoselsky that the mayor requests the traffic commission to extend the one-way hours on Blake Street to 4:30 p.m. in conjunction with the extended day program at the Garfield School.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Speaks for itself.
All in favor, all opposed? So voted.
Calendar item number 10, motion presented by Councilor Hass that the mayor requests DCR to consider installing a bike lane on the beach side of Revere Beach Boulevard to ensure the safety of both pedestrians and bicyclists. Some bicyclists have not been mindful of pedestrians using the sidewalk.
Mr.
Councilor
President,
Hass.
yeah, a number of people have asked me to make this motion due to public safety. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So voted. Oh, sorry. Councilor Powers. And then Councilor Reardon.
Yes, Mr. President, I certainly would like to see a bike lane down Revere Beach Boulevard. However, as we all know, there is limited parking down there for the residents that live in the condominium buildings. There was never enough parking when those buildings were built.
Point of information.
State
your point.
We're not
Councilor Hass.
we're not taking any parking away from the people who park there presently.
Well, I would hope not, because
Thank you for that, Councilor Hass. Councilor Powers.
I feel
I don't want a back and forth here. Councilor Powers has the floor.
It is an issue. Those roadways are 30 feet wide down there, and you have parking on both sides. So unless they could take part of the sidewalk or part of the roadway, I don't know how else you'd be able to do that. I'd love to see a bicycle path down there. I think it's a great thing, but I think it would be very difficult to do. And if it can be done without affecting the parking down there, I certainly would support it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. Councilor Reardon?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that possibly you should throw this into committee and have someone take a look at it and see if it's actually possible to put a bike path on that roadway. If it's physically possible to do, not physically possible to do, we have no point in voting on it because it's just not going to be possible. We have no control over it anyway. So perhaps we could ask them to just take a look at it.
That's why we have community development and issues like that. They'll look it over, have the city engineer look it over. Councilor Penta.
I'd just like to ask Councilor Granasso how Revere Street's working out the bike path.
I was going to say, Mr. President, that in the infinite wisdom of the whoever placed the bike path on Revere Street, it is not working. It's the most dangerous thing I've ever seen, and I think it has more sense being. But I think Councilor Haas' situation is quite different. It's because bicyclists use the sidewalk down there, and they're going 40 miles or 30 miles an hour, and the pedestrians walking are in danger. So we have a little bit of a different situation there.
And I would ask my colleague to start throwing hand grenades up here. Councilor Haas.
Mr. President, this is to be used only in the sidewalk. It will have no effect with the width of the street. It'll be, there's 3 panes of cement down there, and if they can take the furthest part next to the cars, there's no problem. It's an easy, I mean, I don't want this to become an issue where we're taking parking away from the residents. That's insane. It's on the sidewalk. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I misunderstood. I thought it was going to be in the street, but that's a whole different issue now. This is on the sidewalk. It's a whole different issue.
Mr. President, point of clarification. I was under the impression it was going to be on the street, too, to take traffic.
All right, so
No, it's not going to be on the street.
All right.
It's narrow enough.
To take it off of the sidewalk.
Okay, hey, listen. It sounds like it's more workable here. So let's send this to committee. I'm going to send this to zoning.
Calendar item number 11, motion presented by Councilor Patch that the mayor request the Traffic Commission to install a handicap sign at 30 Carlson Street.
Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. At 30 Carlson, there's an elderly resident there that is legally blind, and due to neighbors that have a number of cars, the van that transports her cannot can't pick her up. So I hope that can go before the next Traffic Commission meeting, Madam Clerk? Yes, okay. Thank you. I should have known you already handled that. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So voted. No further business, a motion to adjourn. We adjourn till the 27th of October.